Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to give you the essential information you need, fast.
That's right.
This is your briefing for May 15th, 2025, Part 1. And look, if you're gearing up for the UPSC exams, this session is definitely for you.
Absolutely. We've gathered updates from, well, all over: government schemes, geography, space, culture, finance, you name it.
And yeah, some topics might ring a bell. Think of it as good revision, reinforcing that knowledge base.
Exactly.
Okay, let's jump right in.
So our sources today, they cover quite a range. We'll pull out the core stuff, see if there are any links, and make sure you walk away with a clear picture.
Sounds good. Let's kick off with a government scheme that's been in the news for maybe the wrong reasons lately. The SAMRIDH Scheme.
Yes, unfortunately, there have been recent reports about alleged cheating connected to this scheme. 2 individuals have actually been arrested.
That's concerning. It really highlights the difficulties in rolling out these big programs and keeping everything above board.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
Implementation challenges are very real.
So just to refresh everyone's memory, or for anyone new to it, what's SAMRIDH actually about? What's its purpose?
Okay, so SAMRIDH, it stands for Startup Accelerator of Mediti for Product Innovation, Development, and Growth. Quite a mouthful.
It is.
But the core idea is simple. It's there to help startup accelerators, both existing ones and new ones.
Right, and these accelerators then help the startups.
Exactly. They help promising IT-based startups to scale up. The scheme focuses on helping them with sort of 3 key things: customer connections, investor connections, and breaking into international markets.
Okay, connecting the dots. And is there direct financial help involved for the startups themselves?
Yes, there is. The scheme can provide up to Rs 40 lakh per startup.
Or 40 lakhs, okay.
But here's the key part. It's conditional. The accelerator that's supporting the startup, they have to put in an equal amount of money.
Matching funds. So everyone has skin in the game, so to speak.
Precisely. It aligns interests and, probably makes the accelerators choose their startups pretty carefully.
Makes sense. And who's actually running the show? Who implements SAMRIDH?
That's handled by the Mediti Startup Hub, or MSH, and MSH works under the Digital India Corporation, DIC.
Okay. And I remember reading they had an initial group, a first cohort.
They did. The first round involved 22 accelerators spread across 12 states, which is pretty good coverage.
Yeah.
And between them, they supported 175 startups. These weren't just picked randomly, of course. They went through quite a detailed, multi-level screening process.
And these accelerators, they're not all the same type of organization, are they?
No, not at all. It's a real mix. You've got government-backed accelerators, some based in universities or academic institutions.
Leveraging research, I imagine.
Exactly. Then you have private sector players bringing that industry know-how, and also platforms that focus specifically on early-stage funding.
So a diverse support network.
Definitely. And that diversity means startups can potentially access a wider range of support.
So what kind of support are we talking about? What do these accelerators actually do for the startups?
Well, it's pretty comprehensive. Things like market research, help figuring out product positioning, crucial stuff early on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then there's mentorship, connecting them with experienced people, legal help to IP, getting incorporated, all that.
The nuts and bolts.
Right. Plus networking events, peer learning. They often have weekly founder meetups, apparently. And of course, the big one, demo days to pitch to VCs and angel investors.
Pitching for funding.
And they even help with negotiating those investment deals. So it's quite intense support.
Okay, that covers SAMRIDH well. Let's shift gears completely now from government schemes to, well, the power of nature. The Mearim River in Brazil.
Yes, the Mearim. In Maranhão State up in northern Brazil, it's famous for its tidal bore.
The Poroca, right.
That's the one. The name comes from the local Tupi language, meaning great roar. And recently, a Brazilian surfer actually used this amazing natural wave.
Surfing a river wave.
Exactly, but not just for kicks. He was doing it to raise awareness about climate change and the ecological damage happening in that region.
Wow. Using nature's power to highlight its vulnerability.
A very pointed message.
So for those maybe less familiar, how does a tidal bore actually happen? What's the science?
Okay, so basically, you have the ocean's high tide pushing inland up the river, but the river is flowing outwards towards the sea.
Right, opposing forces.
Exactly. When the incoming tide is strong enough, particularly during spring tides or around supermoons, it overcomes the river current and forms a wave or series of waves that travel upstream.
Against the current.
Yes. In the Mearim, this poroca can be quite dramatic. It's often higher near the banks and can travel upstream for, well, up to 30 minutes after the peak high tide.
30 minutes. That's sustained power. What about the Mearim River itself? Tell us a bit more about it.
Sure. It starts way down in southern Maranhão and flows about 800 kilometers north. It eventually empties into the Baía de São Marcos.
An estuary.
Yes, it forms an estuary there, along with two other rivers, the Pindare and the Grajaú. Its journey takes it through different landscapes, coastal marshlands, tropical rainforests, and mangrove forests near the bay.
Diverse ecosystem.
Very. And ecologically, it's significant. It marks the southern edge of a really biodiverse area, the Tocantins-Araguaia-Maranhão moist forests ecoregion. Oh, and while the lower part is navigable, the upper sections have rapids.
Interesting. Are tidal bores like this common, or is the Mearim special?
Well, the Mearim's Parroca is definitely one of the stronger ones left in Brazil, which makes it quite special, and a draw for surfers and researchers.
Yeah.
But the phenomenon itself isn't unique. You get tidal bores on other rivers around the world where you have a large tidal range and the right river shape. Think the Amazon, also in Brazil.
Right.
The Qiantang River in China, which is famous for its massive bore. Even places like the Seine in France have had them, though maybe less dramatic now.
Fascinating. Okay, from river dynamics, let's zoom way, way out to the cosmos. Active Galactic Nuclei, AGNs. Sounds like some serious astrophysics.
It really is. And there's fresh news. Scientists from the Russian Academy of Sciences, using their Spektar-RG Space Observatory, SRG, they found 11 new AGNs.
11 new ones.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Well, not quite just like that. It's part of their ongoing all-sky X-ray surveys. But yes, 11 newly identified ones.
Okay, for those of us, myself included, who aren't astrophysicists, what exactly is an AGN? And why should we care? Why are they important?
Good question. So imagine the very center of a galaxy. An AGN is an incredibly bright, very compact region right there.
Brighter than the rest of the galaxy.
Often, yes. They can completely outshine billions of stars in their host galaxy. It's just immense energy pouring out.
Where does all that energy come from?
The primary suspect is usually a supermassive black hole sitting at the galaxy's core. As gas and dust fall into the black hole, a process called accretion, it heats up tremendously and radiates energy across the spectrum.
Accretion onto a black hole.
Or, in some cases, it could be an incredibly intense burst of star formation happening right in the nucleus. But the black hole model is very common, and studying them is vital for understanding how galaxies form and evolve over cosmic time. They're like cosmic engines.
Cosmic engines, I like that. How did the Spektar-RG team actually find these 11?
They used a specific telescope on the observatory called RTXC. They looked closely at sources that had already been picked up in earlier, broader surveys, the ARCTES-15 catalog sources specifically. They examined them in both optical light and, crucially, X-rays.
X-rays are key.
Very often, yes. AGNs are powerful X-ray emitters. And this isn't the first success for this program. They'd already found over 50 other AGNs and some other interesting objects called cataclysmic variables using similar methods.
So what do we know about these 11 new discoveries? Are they far away? Very bright?
They're actually relatively nearby, cosmically speaking. Their redshifts range from 0.028 to 0.258.
Which means?
Lower redshift means closer and moving away slower due to the universe's expansion. So these aren't in the extremely distant universe. Their X-ray brightness or luminosity is pretty typical for AGNs between 2 and 300 times 10 to the power of 39 ergs per second.
That sounds like a big number.
It is.
Yeah.
For comparison, our sun's total output is around 10 to the power of 33 ergs per second. So yeah, these are vastly more powerful.
Mind-boggling. And they've been classified into Seyfert types. What does that mean?
Right. Seyfert galaxies are a specific class of AGN known for having bright nuclei but often looking like normal spiral galaxies in visible light.
Okay.
These 11 have all been identified as Seyferts, and they're further broken down based on the light signatures, the emission lines in their spectra.
Different types of light signatures.
Exactly. 7 are Seyfert, type 1. They show broad emission lines. 3 are type 1.9 with sort of partially broad lines. And 1 is a type 2, which only shows narrow lines. These differences tell astronomers about the structure around the central black hole and our viewing angle towards it.
Viewing angle matters.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, let's bring our focus back down to Earth now and talk about something related to wellness and tradition in a mullet. Ayurveda Day. There's a change happening.
That's right. Starting from 2025, Ayurveda Day is getting a new date. It'll be observed on September 23rd each year.
September 23rd. Is there a particular reason for choosing that specific date?
Yes, there is. September 23rd usually falls on or very close to the autumnal equinox in the northern hemisphere.
The equinox equal day and night.
Precisely. It represents a point of natural balance in the Earth's cycle. And that idea of balance or equilibrium is absolutely central to the philosophy of Ayurveda.
So it connects symbolically.
Exactly. The cosmic balance of the equinox reflects Ayurveda's focus on achieving balance within the body and mind and harmony with the environment. It's a very fitting alignment.
Makes sense. For listeners maybe less familiar with Ayurveda, could you give us a quick primer? What is it, fundamentally?
Sure. Ayurveda literally means science of life, from Ayu, meaning life, and Veda, meaning knowledge or science. It's an ancient, holistic system of medicine and healthcare that originated in India thousands of years ago.
Holistic, meaning it looks at the whole picture.
Very much so. And interestingly, its scope isn't just limited to humans in our Ayurveda. It also includes principles for animal health, Sattva Ayurveda, and even plant health, Vriksha Ayurveda.
Wow, plants too.
Yes. But beyond just medicine, it's really a philosophy for living well, promoting positive health, and even spiritual growth.
How does it work in practice? What are the main approaches?
It has two main arms, you could say, preventative and curative. The preventive side focuses a lot on things like hygiene, daily routines, lifestyle choices, and adjusting your diet and activities according to the season's Ritacharya.
Living in sync with nature.
Right. Then the curative side uses therapies like herbal remedies, specific diets, external treatments like massage or oil applications, and even physiotherapy. Crucially, treatment is highly personalized.
Personalized. How so?
It's based on understanding an individual's unique constitution, their prakriti, and identifying any current imbalances in their fundamental energies, the doshas. And just a note for our UPSC listeners, Ayurveda, along with Unani and Siddha, is formally recognized under the Indian Medical Council Act of 1971.
Good point. What are those core principles, those doshas you mentioned?
The cornerstone is the Tridosha theory. This proposes three fundamental bioenergies, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, that govern everything in the body and mind.
Vata, Pitta, Kapha.
Yes. Ayurveda also looks at 7 basic body tissues, the dhatus, and the body's waste products, malas. Health is seen as a state of balance between all these elements. Disease arises when there's an imbalance. So the goal is always to find the root cause of the imbalance and restore equilibrium.
Treating the root cause, not just the symptoms.
That's the ideal, yes. A truly holistic approach.
Okay, let's shift location now to South Africa. We're looking at the Afrikaner community. There's been some recent news.
Yes, there has. Reports indicate the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State recently welcomed the first group of Afrikaner refugees into the United States.
Refugees. That does put a spotlight on the community and their situation. For listeners who might not know the history well, who are the Afrikaners?
Afrikaners are essentially a white ethnic group, but one that's native to South Africa. Their distinct identity wasn't imported. It actually formed over centuries on African soil, a process called ethnogenesis.
Formed in Africa.
Right. That's why they're sometimes called Africa's white tribe, reflecting that long history going back to the 17th century.
Okay, take us back. How did this community begin?
It starts in 1652. The Dutch East India Company, the VOC, set up a refreshment station at the Cape of Good Hope. Jan van Riebeeck led that effort. The first settlers were mainly Dutch Protestants.
Dutch Protestants.
Yes. But the community didn't stay purely Dutch. Over time, they were joined by French Huguenots, Protestants fleeing persecution in France after the Edict of Fontainebleau was revoked in 1685.
Ah, the Huguenots.
Germans came too. And crucially, the developing society included enslaved people brought from places like India, Indonesia, Madagascar, and East Africa, as well as interactions with the indigenous Khoi people already living at the Cape.
So a real melting pot, in a way, but under specific historical circumstances.
A very complex mix, definitely. And out of these interactions between different European groups, slaves, and indigenous people, a unique identity emerged. This included the development of the Afrikaans language, which evolved from Dutch, but with many influences.
And what about their culture? What shaped that?
Several things. The Calvinist religious background of the Dutch was a major influence, shaping social values.
Okay.
Then there was the experience of frontier life. Many settlers, known as trick Boers, moved further inland from the Cape in the 18th century. This fostered a culture that was quite self-reliant, sometimes militant.
Moving inland often meant conflict, I assume.
Yes, encounters with indigenous groups as they expanded were often violent. This frontier experience really shaped their culture. You also saw the development of sort of paternalistic households and pretty rigid social hierarchies within the community.
A complex history indeed. All right, let's switch to finance now. Treasury bills, or T-bills, are in the news, involving India and the Maldives.
That's right. India has provided some financial support to the Maldives by renewing a USD 50 million Treasury bill for another year. This was done through the State Bank of India, SBI.
Okay, a T-bill renewal. For our UPSC aspirants tracking economic policy and instruments, what exactly is a Treasury bill?
Treasury bills, or T-bills, are short-term debt instruments. The Indian government issues them via the Reserve Bank of India, the RBI.
Short-term debt. What's their main purpose?
Primarily, they help the central government manage its short-term cash flow needs. Think of it as short-term borrowing by the government. But the RBI also uses them actively.
How does the RBI use them?
They're a key tool for open market operations, OMOs. The RBI buys and sells T-bills in the market to manage the amount of money circulating in the economy, which helps regulate inflation and influence borrowing and spending.
Okay, managing liquidity. From an investor's point of view, what's the appeal of T-bills?
Their biggest appeal is safety. They're backed by the government, so the risk of default is considered extremely low. They're among the safest investments available.
Government backing.
Right. They're also highly liquid. You can usually sell them fairly easily before maturity if you need the cash. So for investors looking for safety and liquidity over short periods, they're attractive.
How do they generate a return? Is there an interest rate?
Actually, no. T-bills are zero coupon securities. They don't pay periodic interest.
Oh, so how do you make money?
They're issued at a discount to their face value. For instance, a 91-day T-bill with a face value of, say, 100 euro might be sold to you for 98. When it matures in 91 days, the government pays you back the full euro. That's two differences your return.
Ah, the discount is the return. Simple enough. What kind of time frames are we talking about? How short term?
In India, they're typically issued for 3 durations: 91 days, 182 days, and 364 days.
Okay, so up to a year.
Exactly. And the minimum amount you can invest is $25,000, and then in multiples of that. The RBI holds regular auctions to issue these bills using its electronic program called eKuber.
eKuber. Got it. Who can buy these? Is it just banks?
No, it's quite broad. Pretty much any entity registered in India can invest. That includes banks, financial institutions, primary dealers, companies, mutual funds, state governments, trusts.
Even individuals?
Yes, individuals too. You can buy them in the primary auction or trade them in the secondary market afterwards.
Good to know. Okay, next topic. Technology and regulation again, involving the RBI. This time it's the Centralized Information Management System, CIMS.
Yes. The latest development is that regulated entities like banks and NBFCs now have to report details about their digital lending apps, their DLAs, through this CIMS portal.
Reporting on digital lending apps. That seems timely, given how fast that sector is growing. What exactly is CIMS? Why did the RBI set it up?
CIMS is essentially the RBI's next-generation data warehouse. It was introduced to handle the absolutely massive amounts of data the RBI collects from the financial system.
A data warehouse.
Right, but a very advanced one built using modern big data technologies. Its purpose is to manage the whole data lifecycle: collection, aggregation, analysis, sharing information publicly where appropriate, and overall data governance.
So it's about managing the data deluge. What can it actually do with the data?
It's got some powerful capabilities. We're talking data mining to find patterns, text mining to analyze written reports, visual analytics to help understand complex data visually, and advanced statistical tools.
Okay.
And it pulls together data from all over the financial sector, external trade, government finances, corporate data, real estate prices, giving the RBI a really integrated view.
What are the benefits of having this system for the RBI and maybe for the banks reporting to it?
For the RBI, it dramatically improves how efficiently and effectively they handle regulatory reporting. It gives them better, faster insights into what's happening in the financial system.
So better monitoring of risks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It enhances their ability to spot potential problems early and react appropriately. For the regulated entities, submitting reports electronically via this cloud-based system should hopefully streamline the process, reduce their workload.
Less paperwork, maybe.
Potentially, yes, and improve the timeliness and quality of the data everyone relies on. It should also improve communication between the RBI and the entities it supervises.
Okay, sounds like a significant upgrade. Now let's talk about youth empowerment. The Mera Yuva Bharat initiative, what's the latest there?
Well, one recent activity is that Mearim River is involved in selecting civil defense volunteers. It's part of their broader goal of getting young people involved in important community roles like disaster management.
Civil defense volunteers. Interesting application. Can you give us the bigger picture on Mera Yuva Bharat? What is it?
Sure, Mera Yuva Bharat, or MY Bharat, is an autonomous body. It sits under the Department of Youth Affairs within the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports.
Autonomous body.
Yes. And it functions primarily through a dedicated technology platform designed to really boost the reach of government youth programs.
The multiple platform.
It's more than just a platform. It's envisioned as an overarching framework, an enabling mechanism for youth development, and, importantly, youth-led development.
Youth-led development. What does that mean?
It means shifting the focus. Instead of seeing young people just as recipients of programs, the goal is to empower them to be active drivers of development, contributing to building Viksit Bharat, a developed India. It's about giving them equitable access to opportunities to realize their potential.
What age group are we talking about here?
The main target is 15 to 29 years old. That lines up with the definition of youth in the National Youth Policy.
15 to 29.
Although some specific programs under its umbrella might also cater to adolescents, say, in the 10 to 19 age group.
And you mentioned it's a technology platform. How does that work? Is it all online?
They call it a phygital platform.
Phygital. Physical plus digital.
Exactly. It aims to blend physical activities, volunteering, events, community work with digital connectivity. So the portal, mypart.gov.in, is where youth can register, find opportunities, sign up for events.
Connecting online to offline activities.
Right. It's rapidly becoming a central tool for youth engagement, offering diverse opportunities, connecting them with chances to volunteer with, say, the police, urban local bodies, different ministries.
Okay, quite broad. Let's move to our second to last topic, the Chambal River in central India. There are environmental concerns.
Yes, specifically about sand mining. It's become a major issue in the Chambal region, affecting areas across Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh where the river flows.
Sand mining. That can really damage river ecosystems. Tell us about the Chambal itself. What's it known for?
Well, historically, its ancient name was Sharmanvati, but today it's known for being one of India's cleaner rivers, relatively speaking. Its waters are often described as quite pristine.
A cleaner river. That makes the sand mining threat even more concerning. Where does it flow?
It originates in the Vindhya Range in Madhya Pradesh, south of Mahau. From there, it flows generally north and northeast.
Through estates.
It flows through MP, then into Rajasthan. It actually forms the border between Rajasthan and MP for a stretch. After that, it turns southeast and eventually joins the Yamuna River in Uttar Pradesh.
MP, Rajasthan, UP.
Got it. It's the largest river in Rajasthan, by the way, and its total length is around 960 kilometers.
What about its basin? What area does it drain?
The basin is sort of hemmed in by the Vindhyan Mountains on the south, east, and west, and the Aravalli Range up to the northwest. It mainly drains the Malwa region of MP.
In Rajasthan.
Yes. Southeastern Rajasthan gets drained primarily via its big left bank tributary, the Banas River, which starts in the Aravallis. Other key tributaries include the Parbati, Kali Sindh, and Shipra on the right bank, and the Mej on the left.
Any major man-made structures on it?
Stormpath.
Oh, yes. There are 3 major dams on the Chambal. The Gandhi Sagar Dam, Rana Pratap Sagar Dam, and the Jawahar Sagar Dam. They're important for power and irrigation.
And any significant natural features or wildlife.
There's a notable confluence point in UP called Pachanada, where the Chambal meets 4 other rivers, Kwari, Yamuna, Sindh, and Pahuj. And yes, wildlife is very important. The National Chambal Sanctuary was set up back in 1979.
What does it protect?
Its main focus is on protecting the critically endangered gharial, a type of crocodile.
Yeah.
But it's also a crucial habitat for the endangered Ganges River dolphin and the marsh crocodile, or mugger.
So a vital ecosystem.
Absolutely, which is why issues like unregulated sand mining are such a serious threat. Okay, finally, let's go to the coldest place on Earth, Antarctica. But we're looking under the ice. The Gamburtsev Subglacial Mountains. There's new research.
Yes, really fascinating stuff published in Earth and Planetary Science Letters. New data suggests these hidden mountains started forming over 500 million years ago.
500 million years, that's deep time.
It is, and it ties their formation to the period when the ancient supercontinent Gondwana was assembling.
So, first off, what are the Gamburtsev Subglacial Mountains? Subglacial means under the ice, right?
Exactly. They are a huge mountain range, comparable in size to the European Alps, but they are completely buried beneath the East Antarctic ice sheet, right near Dome A, the highest point of the ice sheet.
Completely hidden. How are they even found?
A Soviet seismic expedition discovered them way back in 1958 during the International Geophysical Year. They were mapping the rock surface beneath the ice.
And they're different from the Transantarctic Mountains.
Yes, the key difference is visibility. We can see large parts of the Transantarctic Mountains sticking out above the ice. The Gamburtsevs, or GSM, are entirely hidden.
Why are they considered a geological puzzle?
Well, huge mountain ranges usually form where tectonic plates collide. Think Himalayas, Andes. But the Gamburtsevs are located right in the middle of a very old, stable part of the continent's crust, a craton.
Far from plate boundaries.
Right. So figuring out how such massive mountains formed there has been a long-standing mystery.
How did this new research figure out the timing, given they're buried under kilometers of ice?
They used tiny mineral grains called zircons. These zircons were eroded from the Gamburtsev rocks millions of years ago when the mountains were exposed, then carried by ancient rivers and deposited in sandstones.
Where did they find these sandstones?
In the Prince Charles Mountains, another range in Antarctica that was once connected to the Gamburtsev region, these zircon crystals act like tiny time capsules.
Time capsules. How?
Zircons contain trace amounts of uranium. Uranium decays radioactively into lead at a very precise known rate. By measuring the ratio of uranium to lead isotopes in these zircon grains, scientists can calculate exactly when the crystal formed.
Radiometric dating.
Precisely. And the analysis of these zircons showed distinct periods of activity. Uplift likely started around 650 million years ago. They reached truly massive Himalayan scale around 580 million years ago. And the main mountain building processes involving crustal melting and flow seem to have stopped by about 500 million years ago.
Wow. So they managed to date the mountain building without actually drilling through kilometers of ice to the mountains themselves.
That's the clever part, using these eroded remnants as proxies. It puts the Gamburtsev's formation right in the time frame of Gondwana coming together.
Incredible science. All right, that brings us to the end of this rapid-fire deep dive for May 15th, 2025, Part 1.
We've certainly covered a lot of ground, from startup schemes like SAMRIDH and the potential pitfalls.
Yeah, lessons there about implementation for sure.
To the sheer force of nature with the Mearim's Roca and how it's being used to highlight environmental issues.
A powerful symbol. Then zooming out to AGNs in galaxy evolution.
And back to Earth with Ayurveda Day finding a new, meaningful date, the complex history of the Afrikaners.
Then into finance with T-bills. The tech behind RBI's CIMS.
Youth empowerment through Mera Yuva Bharat, the environmental pressures on the Chambal.
And finally, uncovering ancient mountains under Antarctic ice.
It really shows the breadth of knowledge needed, especially for UPSC preparation. Think about the implications the oversight needed for schemes. The connection between nature and climate, the vastness of space, the value of tradition, the complexities of identity, financial tools, data management, youth engagement, environmental stewardship.
It's all interconnected in surprising ways. This was, as always, just scratching the surface. We really hope you'll dig deeper into anything that caught your interest.
Definitely. Understanding these links is key.
And if you found this useful for your preparation, please do give us a like and subscribe for more deep dives like this.
Your support helps us keep doing this.
We'll be back soon with more insights to keep you ahead of the curve. Thanks for tuning in.